Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to respond to a question today. At the end of every video, I say, please comment down below. I love your comments. I say the same thing after every video. Well, I did get a comment from Younes Mohssen. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Younes Mohssen. Here's what he said. I'm going to read it to you exactly. I would love if you did a video explaining how you read magic books and how do you remember the plots, effects, and keep them in your repertoire. I do keep notes, but the notes end up having me expand on them and go off on different tangents and make new notes off the old notes. I had searching through notes becomes like finding a needle in a haystack. Does that make sense? Well, yes, it does make sense. When you've been doing magic for any length of time, you've collected a library, you've collected props, you've got things everywhere. I'm going to give you some of the things that I have learned over the years that help me organize my magic. First of all, you have two types of magic to organize. You've got your props, your physical props. And then you've got your information. Sometimes the two go together. Here's something I recommend to you, and I'll tell you why, okay? We all buy magic galore, right? We do that because that's what magicians do. So we get magic in, and sometimes you find, and at least I do, I find that, okay, the prop's just not working for me. I just don't have a place for it in my show. Maybe it doesn't fit my personality, whatever. I decide I'm going to sell the prop. If you don't have the instructions, it's very hard to sell the prop, okay? So one thing I've learned, I used to buy a prop, I would take the instructions, and I would put them in a binder. So I had a notebook binder, and I had the binder broken into categories. Transpositions, vanishes, you name it, different categories. And so I put these instructions in these categories in binders. And then when I would go to sell the prop, I couldn't find the instructions. Even though they were in the binder, I couldn't locate them. So I decided it's best to keep all of your written materials with the prop. That's point number one in terms of organization. Now, as far as organizing your props, here's what I like to do. You take a prop. You take everything you need to perform the effect, whether that's envelopes or pens or extra, whatever, thumb tips, whatever it might be that you need to do the effect, and you put it in a Ziploc bag. Now, obviously, not every piece of magic is going to fit in a Ziploc bag, but by the way, in the Ziploc bag, you need to keep your instructions as well. You need to keep everything you need for that effect in a single place, so that you can grab the effect, grab everything you need, grab the instructions, everything, one place. I keep a lot of things in Ziploc bags. Remember, I do mostly mental magic, mentalism. Most of my props these days come from Staples or Home Depot or Office Depot or Michael's or Arts and Crafts shop. Most of my props come from those. I keep everything in a single bag. Now, some of your props are going to be larger. They're not going to fit in a bag. Here's something I recommend. These are Ziploc watertight containers. Let me show you what this looks like on the inside. It's got a sponge seal. You put your prop in here. You put everything you need to perform the effect in here. You put your instructions in here. This seals it, so you can literally keep it in a wet environment, and it won't damage the prop. My basement, even though I have dehumidifiers running, my basement tends to be very moist. So I don't want to damage my props. That's why I invest in these. They're not cheap, but they do keep your props very nice and very protected. These come in a variety of sizes. You can get little drums this size if you have larger props. Keep your props in something like this if you're going to store them in an area that is moist. So that is prop management. Everything you need to perform the effect, including instructions, needs to be in one place. Do not separate instructions from props. Now, that's prop management. Another thing you can do is you can label these with nice large labels so that if you have them stacked, you can see what's in the container. That's another thing I suggest. Now, information management. I think, Younes, I think this is probably going to get to the information that you were really looking for. Back in the day, back in the 1980s, back in the 1970s, you know, everything was on a piece of paper, and it was a matter of managing that paper. Today, that's no longer the case. As soon as I get a prop and it has paper instructions, I scan them into my computer. Now, most props today don't come with paper instructions. They come with a little business card with a link on it, and you go to that link and you download a video. All right, so here's what I do. I create in Word, I create a folder, and I name the folder all the possible names that effect might have. Now, some magic has different, it's the same trick, but it goes by many different names. You want to figure out how many different names that thing has, put all of them on it. Why am I telling you to do that? Well, you said, how do you keep track of it? It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Well, if you've done this work, if you've labeled everything properly, labeled your folders, all you have to do is search. Put the name in, search, and it'll come straight up. No problem. I have so much material, by the way, that I keep all of my material on a separate external hard drive because I have so much of it. I don't want to keep it on my computer or on my laptop because it weighs it down, it slows it down. It's too much material. So I use Word files and folders. I scan the documents into a PDF. I might convert it to a Word file if I want to manipulate it. By the way, you can do that. You can convert PDFs to Word files if you didn't know that you could do that. It's very easy to do. I have two separate categories. I have my active and my back burner. My active files are the material that I'm working on or they're currently in my repertoire. Back burner are things that I've taken a look at, I've studied, but decided that for whatever reason it doesn't fit my performance style right now, and I move it to a back burner file. So the active folder, you know, I have tons of effects in the active folder that I'm constantly drawing on because I do so much different magic. You know, I perform for children's parties. I perform for retirement centers. I perform for corporations. I do all this kind of stuff. And so I try to keep them separate that way. So, use every name associated with the effect on the folder. Keep instructions in the Word folder itself. It doesn't have to be just Word documents, you know. In the Word folder itself, you want to keep your instructions. You want to keep video, you know, most effects today come with video instructions. You want to keep them right there in the folder. You also want to take a look on YouTube and throughout the internet to see if you can find performance footage of that. Different performers doing it, interpreting that different ways. You want to download some of that, keep that in the folder as well. You want to keep rough notes. I offered for free over 2 different videos my routining. I have a Word document that explains exactly how to set up a routine, how to title the effect, what you need to perform the effect, the routine, the category that it fits in. That goes into the folder as well. You also want to keep any Adobe files. A lot of effects, particularly from Martin Gardner or Martin Lewis, a lot of those effects come with Adobe files that you can print out and use as templates to make the effect. You want to keep all that stuff in a single folder so it doesn't get lost or mixed up. In addition to those folders, now you have 2 sets, right? You have your back burner and your active. In addition to that, I keep a master list. This is a single Word document. I keep a master list in alphabetical order of every effect in my active repertoire. Every effect. It doesn't matter if it's a kid show effect or if it's an adult effect or a mentalism effect. It doesn't matter. I keep it all in a single Word document. Now what I put there, I put the title of the effect and some notes about my personal routine. Not the instructions, not somebody else's routine, just my stuff right there. So I can look down that list at a glance and see what it is I'm looking for. Again, you can search a Word document pretty easily as well by word to find out exactly where that is in the document if you can't remember exactly. Another thing I do in that document is I color code. So if it's a kid show effect, I color it green. If it's a mentalism effect, I might highlight it yellow. Just the title, not the whole thing. So that's basically how I organize my magic. If that doesn't make sense, and I wouldn't blame you if you said it didn't, put some comments down below. I'll try to clarify. Send me an email. By the way, my email, david@daviddelman.com. So shoot me an email, and I'll try to explain it better. I know it's my system. Trying to explain my system might be a little challenging, but Younes, I hope that I explained it pretty well. The point is, in summary, whatever system you use, you need to be able to access your material. You need to be able to get to those instructions. You need to be able to get to your routine. And I'll tell you something else. There are routines that I do that go onto the back burner because I'm not doing them. I'm not that interested. A couple of years later, I decide, oh, I need that routine. I bring it back. If my notes aren't good enough, if they're not detailed enough, I can't remember how I did the effect. I can't remember what my presentation was. So you need to be as detailed as possible in your note-taking about your routine and about how that routine evolved and developed. It's another point. Every trick you do, every effect that you perform repeatedly is going to evolve. It's very important that you keep detailed notes and a script, if possible, about how that trick has evolved and what you say and how it's presented and how audiences react to that. All of that material should be kept in that folder. Thank you so much for joining me. Please comment down below. Please subscribe if you've not done so already. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.